Hey, you! Welcome back to episode 4 of my Bloodborne playthrough slash lore play. I'm not even sure how to describe it, but basically where we're going through the game and trying to make sense of what's happening, because this is a game that's very much rooted in implicit storytelling where everything is implied or hidden in item descriptions, and it may not necessarily be explained to you by any one character or narrative through line in the game. So it occurs to me that we've gone through quite a bit of story in the previous 3 episodes, and maybe it would be a good time to do a recap of what exactly has happened up to this point. So bear with me. We're going to go through a little bit of information, just trying to get everything set up for where we're at in the storyline. So the game starts with us as an outsider who came to Yharnam seeking treatment for a random ailment, likely tied to what we chose as our character class. You could have been, someone who had a troubled childhood. You could have been someone who had a violent past. You could have been someone with military history, or, any number of things. Waste of skin is one of those choices. Literally someone who has some kind of unnamed ailment that we were seeking treatment for. And we came there specifically looking for something called Paleblood, which is something that you hear in the very first utterance of the game. The gentleman who is helping us out says, "Ah, yes, Paleblood. Well, you're in the right place. Yharnam is the home of blood ministration." So we were the ones who specified we were looking for Paleblood. We were made to sign a contract before being treated with our first blood transfusion from that gentleman. During the initial moments following that transfusion, we witnessed a beast that was curiously born of the blood, quoties, and were attacked while we ourselves were being made a man by the blood, quoties again. The beast then seemingly caught fire, possibly undone by the blood, quotey fingers one more time. I should put the controller down. We were surrounded by something called messengers, and we heard a voice that sounded an awful lot like the doll say, "Ah, you found yourself a hunter." We finally awaken, and we enter Yharnam proper and find that it's a town in disarray. The streets are lined with corpses, chained coffins, and a mob that's set on tracking down and killing beasts, which they deem us to be. During our first encounter with one of these villagers, we quickly get killed and die only to awaken in some place called the Hunter's Dream, which is where my character model is right now, which appeared initially to be nothing more than just a nicely tended graveyard with some strange inanimate doll sitting below a closed building, the same building that's right there. Initially, when we got here, it wasn't open. We couldn't go inside of it. We approach one of the gravestones that's sitting off to the side right here, and we awaken back in Yharnam by touching it. The mob that was accosting us itself shows unusual signs of illness. The people have elongated limbs. Their voices are deep and snarling. They have extra hair, fangs. Their eyes seem to glow. And they're clearly becoming beasts themselves. We start finding blood vials on nearly everyone and everywhere we look. The town apparently has been flooded with these blood vials, and they're in rampant use by everybody there, whether or not they're beasts. The blood appears to be capable of healing, as well as everyone says. The initial guy who's there seems intent on giving you blood to help fix your ailment. When you use it, your wounds are healed instantly. And even in the attempt of fighting against people, if we're wounded, if we hit them and the blood from our hits on another person splash into our own wounds, they seem to heal you, which is why the rally or regain system seems to work. I don't know if they ever actually say that's what's happening, but I think it's fair enough to say if you're hitting someone immediately after you yourself have been wounded and there's blood flying everywhere, that blood's entering your wound and it's healing you. That's what's happening. If someone can prove otherwise, I'd love to hear it. The blood vials that we're finding are supposedly a product of a group called the Healing Church. We're told by multiple townspeople that the Healing Church has sealed off access to a place called the Cathedral Ward, which is the home of the Healing Church. When we approached the main gate that they had closed off, we're attacked by this massive beast dressed in church garb. The beast scourge apparently has afflicted the Healing Church as well. Upon first entering the fight with this beast, known as the Cleric Beast, and upon defeating it, we're given points of something called Insight, as we appear to have uncovered vital information pertaining to the situation that's going on in Yharnam. The more that we learn, the more insight, quoties, that we acquire. The town is full of statues of what all appear to be women with their eyes covered and their hands open and facing upward. We also find that many of the townspeople wandering the streets also have their eyes covered, or in many cases wrapped with bandages. We return to the Hunter's Stream after that initial fight with the Cleric Beast and find some interesting changes. The doll that was initially inanimate had come to life. Looks like she's now fallen asleep again. Weird. Interesting. That's exactly how we found her too, but I think she does get up if you talk to her here. And she offers to channel the blood that we had been receiving from our victims to strengthen us. We also meet a gentleman by the name of Gehrman, who appears to be so old that initially he can't even remember his own name. He tells us that the building up at the top of the hill here was a hunter's workshop, and then he advises us very directly to just go out and kill a few beasts. That's his instructions to us. He doesn't try to lay out some big, detailed story about what's going on. He just says, go out there, kill some beasts. We reawaken again back in Yharnam, and we return to the sick room where we first received blood, and we find that there is a door open to a place called Yosefka's clinic. We speak to a woman behind the door, and she sounds worried about the health of her patients and says she won't allow us to enter under any circumstances. We start searching around the lower parts of the town because we're still trying to find our way to the Cathedral Ward, and we come across what appears to be a fractured skull with what looks like outer space seemingly pouring out of it, and what looks very much like a slug made out of light coming from that same opening. When we use this item, it actually gives us a point of insight. We hear mention of hunters everywhere we go that were supposed to have dealt with the beast scourge, and we ourselves are frequently conflated with them by townspeople and other individuals that we encounter, even though we never actually agreed to become a hunter, as far as we know. Interestingly enough, we sign a contract, but we don't know what the terms of that contract are. Maybe part of that contract was we agreed to become a hunter. We don't know. We find one of these hunters, a man by the name of Father Gascoigne, in the middle of violently hacking up a body and babbling about beasts all over the shop, and then he claims that we'll become one too before he ends up attacking us. During our fight, he quickly and very explosively transforms into a beast himself. We end up killing him and find what appears to be the corpse of his wife sitting on a roof of a nearby tomb or sepulcher, whatever those little buildings are supposed to be. We continue our path upward into the Cathedral Ward and enter into a chapel that's full of incense and find a man that asks us to locate and guide healthy individuals back to the chapel. We end up going back to Yharnam at one point and returning to the sick room in Yosefka's clinic, where we find a very differently toned Yosefka. Instead of chasing us off and telling her not to endanger her patients, she's now very much insisted upon us finding people and returning them to her clinic, which is an interesting change of tone from someone who was basically trying to quarantine herself and everyone else away from anyone involved in the outside world. She apparently had a change of heart. Even the tone of her voice seems to have changed a little bit. So we enter into the Cathedral Ward and find all these tall, pale men with dark eyes wandering the town with no signs of the beast scourge on them. They're just very gaunt and pale and strange looking, and we don't really have a good explanation for who they are and why they're wandering around the town. But they're all also wearing what appears to be church garb. Sorry, I had to move to make sure the controller didn't fall asleep. While collecting some of the items from a corpse nearby the Oedon Chapel, a strange glowing orb or some kind of pulsating energy seems to grab us, lift us into the air, and crush our body. Somehow we managed to survive that. No explanation for what happened there. Just some weird energy seemed to grab us. While we're searching the ward, we encounter a bizarre creature with pale skin and small tendrils all over its face. Allowing it to grab and attack us would have cost us insight, but thankfully we didn't let that happen because, I'm really good at video games, guys. We find a set of church garb and learn that the Healing Church was engaged in clandestine activity to curb the scourge of beasts. Apparently they were tasked with eliminating anyone with signs of sickness or even potential signs of sickness. Upon donning the church garb ourselves, we go to a few houses that had some people within them nearby, and the people that we speak to have cowed reverence for us, as though they fear that we're there to claim that they're sick and end up killing them. And they're just, saying whatever it takes to get us to leave them alone, saying, how much they revere the church and what we're doing, and, please leave us be. We encounter a gentleman by the name of Alfred. Yes, it's Alfred. I don't know why I couldn't remember the name before. Who says that he's a simple church hunter, quoties, who shares his knowledge of the origins of the Healing Church, formed by a man by the name of Lawrence. It appears that the church formed as a result of the discoveries of a school known as Bergenworth. They were examining an underground labyrinth and found something called a holy medium, which was used to establish blood healing, which is what everyone in the town was apparently using. We don't know what that holy medium was, but we might find out later on. So we make our way to the top of the Cathedral Ward, and we find a cathedral that has been adorned with these bizarre, tentacled, squid-like statues all over the outside and even on the stairs going up into the cathedral, and they also appear to be wielding what looks like harpoons. We enter the cathedral and find a woman at prayer. She's praying for the souls of her fellow man, saying that our bodies are weak, our minds are young, and she pleads for man to partake in communion and to use something called old blood. She then stops praying, and in a final scream transforms into a beast that we end up slaying. Upon finishing off this beast, known as the Vicar Amelia, we find a bizarre, grotesque skull sitting on an altar split at the top of its head. The skull appeared to be an object of worship, and there is some glowing energy emanating from within it. We touch the skull and appear to relive what appears to be a brief memory. In it, we see two men, a gentleman by the name of Master Willem and Lawrence, who we've already heard of, the founder of the Healing Church. Lawrence says that he is taking his leave, which we would assume means, since we had heard about Bergenworth before, it's possible that he was leaving Bergenworth for good. Willem accuses him of betrayal. Lawrence denies it, and then, in a show of good faith, repeats a personal adage that the two of them had. We are born of the blood, made men by the blood, undone by the blood. Our eyes are yet to open. Fear the old blood. They say that with extra emphasis. Fear the old blood. Lawrence then appears to leave, and Willem pleads one last time for him to fear the blood. We awaken from the memory, realizing that the skull on the altar is, in fact, Lawrence, after he had transformed into a beast. We could arguably infer at this point that the Healing Church has been using the old blood as part of the blood ministration that the entire town has been engaged in, and that the whole town, as a result, has been afflicted with this beast scourge. So from what we can tell at this point in the game, the Healing Church is behind what's caused all of this harm. We start making our way down to an area called Old Yharnam, something that I believe Garriman had mentioned to us. I kind of lost track of who exactly was mentioning to us an area in the town that was closed off called Old Yharnam. We find a note on a door just outside of it that warns us that hunters are not welcome. We decide to go inside anyway. When we enter, we're accosted by a man who's sitting on top of a clock tower. He accuses us of being a hunter and warns us to turn back or face the hunt ourselves. Well, we ignore that and continue anyway. We find that the streets in Old Yharnam are loaded with piles of burnt bodies, none of which appear to have any of the signs of the beast scourge. No elongated limbs, no fur, no fangs, nothing like that. One could infer, even though there's nothing explicitly saying that the people that were burned in these big piles were never actually sick to begin with. We make our way to the clock tower and we fight the gentleman who happens to be the hunter, Jura. Upon losing our initial fight, he asks if we still have dreams. If he's a hunter, doesn't he dream like we do? We don't know that. We end up returning and finishing him off. We enter the lower parts of the town and make a rather grotesque sight. There is a massive flayed beast that was crucified inside of a large church. No explanation for what was going on there, but we do find underneath it an item called ritual blood, which was apparently something that they were using as part of the quote-unquote communion that we'll learn about a little more later on. Near where Jura was perched on his clock tower, we find a note lamenting the fate of the town and that the hunters had the unenviable task of burning everything down. We could infer, but maybe not prove, that Jura was the one who wrote that note. At the bottom of the town, we enter a small church with a large beast that was also seemingly flayed like the crucified beast. That weird flappy stuff that was on the back of what ends up being called the blood-starved beast could have potentially just been the skin on its back, and that its transformation was so violent and fast that it literally blew the skin off of its back. So maybe it wasn't flayed, but we don't really know. We end up finishing it off and we find the Fumaro Chalice, which people were using apparently as part of their communion to enter the same labyrinth where the scholars of Byrgenwerth found the holy medium. And that pretty much wraps up where we're at this point. There might have been a few other small things that we left out, but that was kind of a brief synopsis of where we are in the story, and I need to get some water because that was a lot of talking. So anyway, let's get back to it. We have a couple of things that we wanted to take care of in this episode. I don't think there's anything important here. No, we find Lawrence back asleep down here. Don't know if he'll say anything different, but we can wait.
Oh, Lawrence, what's taking you so long? I've grown too old for this. Of little use now, I'm afraid.
Now, one important thing that we hadn't really paid much attention to, and I don't know if you can actually see it here or not. Maybe not. He's in a wheelchair, but he also has what looks like a walking stick. So he may not actually be in the wheelchair because he's completely crippled. He may just have difficulty walking around. Also, as we discussed in the synopsis before, he appears to be very old. And also, as that little blurb of him while he was sleeping indicates, he's been here a very long time. So, it's possible that he doesn't necessarily need to sit in that wheelchair. He maybe just does it because it's easier for him to move around. But let's go ahead and get moving. One of the things that we want to do today is we're going to head back to Old Yharnam. When we killed Jura, there was an item that he dropped, and while I was going back editing the video for episode 3, I did notice that the item seemed to have dropped kind of above a small bridge going around the outside of the clock tower, which we couldn't reach. It is possible that that item will respawn at the top of the clock tower and we'll be able to pick it up. It does have a little bit of plot significance. If we can get it, great. If we can't, not a big deal. Not too worried about getting it. And I gotta adjust the volume here because it is a little bit louder than I intended for it to be. Sorry about that. Alright, let's get moving. Now, if the beasts retain any kind of memory whatsoever, it's probably rather jarring seeing what they believe to be Jura attacking them. They may have gotten really comfortable with the idea that this gentleman who kind of looks like a wolf, I guess is what the appearance was supposed to be, is now attacking all of them. We thought you were one of the good guys! And even the beasts down here have bandages around their heads, which is an interesting touch. And they have them around their arms and legs, but it seems like everyone had bandages somewhere near or around their eyes. Every single one of them. Yes, I know there's a shortcut that I probably should have taken here. Hold on. Search corpse. Hey, we got a gemstone. So the area that the item dropped to was actually right here above this bridge where that body is hanging. I kind of saw it just kind of hovering above the left guardrail here. Unfortunately, at that point, there was really not a whole lot I could do to grab it. Even if I wanted to, even if it physically spawned in a way that one should be able to grab, I wouldn't have been able to get it. So the hope, and again, no way to confirm this is what's going to happen, look at that, the beasts can climb ladders, is that it will have respawned at the top of this clock tower here. I guess we'll find out in a second here. And if it did, awesome. And if it didn't, that's a bummer. Excellent. It is, in fact, here. So let's go ahead and grab it. The Powder Keg Hunter Badge. I'm going to stand here and take a look at this, but if I start hearing someone come up that ladder, we're going to have to stop this real quick. Here we go. Powder Keg Hunter Badge. Badge crafted by the Powder Kegs, the heretics of the workshop. The Powder Kegs' adoration of complex design and big booms culminated in weapon designs that contrast with those traditionally of the workshop. The late Powder Kegs, bless their souls, had a motto. If a weapon ain't got kick, it just ain't worth it. And what it appears to be is a little vial filled with what would probably be gunpowder. So, Jura, one would probably be safe to infer, was actually a member of the Powder Kegs. And the Powder Kegs, from what we understood up to this point, were the people that were tasked with coming down to Old Yharnam and cleaning it out. You know, killing anyone and everyone to try to prevent the beast scourge from exiting the town. I hear a beast! He made his way all the way up here. He knew how to climb ladders, but apparently this one he decided not to. Out, you're lost, buddy. Is there another one down here? I don't see one. They did their deed, and then they decided, we're good. Hey, what up? Where is that ladder? I know it's here. The advantages of having lots of extra stamina. You can dodge hits that probably should hit you. Oh, I gotta go down here. That's right. And still have enough energy to fight back after you do said dodges. There we go. There it is. So we've done everything that we can accomplish in this area at this point. Now, one of the options that we could have taken that probably would have given us a little more insight into the storyline, but we're obviously not going to be able to do that at this point. When we initially come here and we're warned off by Jura, one of the things that we can do is actually heed his advice and leave. We don't have to come to this area. The Fumaro Chalice is a nice item, but it's not critical to the storyline. There is, alternatively, a way into this area from down below that we would be able to use to get in and approach the clock tower from behind. If we do that, we can actually have a chat with Jura. We didn't do that. Not a big deal. But he does tell us a little more about what has been going on, including indicating the fact that as a result of casting off his vows as a hunter, he no longer has the ability to dream. So that's kind of why he asks us when we go to fight him if we still dream. Apparently, part of taking the vow of a hunter means being caught in this loop where we keep coming back to a dream whenever we die. And then when we wake back up, we enter, quote-unquote, the real world, the waking world. So that's kind of why he asks that. Excuse me. Sorry, I had to clear my throat there. Now, we don't know necessarily that he had stopped or lost the ability to enter the dream whenever he dies. He just intimates that. That may be something he does actually say. I'm not 100% certain because I usually just go in here right off the bat, kill him, do what I need to do, get to the Fumaro Chalice. Which, by the way, we had already talked about the way that it works. Basically, you come to these altars here, place the chalice down, use whatever materials we need to do to partake in the quote-unquote communion, and we would enter the labyrinth at one of these graveyards right here. Again, it's not critical to the overall storyline. We get everything that we really need to paste together a complete story, just playing the single-player stuff and not entering these randomly generated dungeons. So we will not be doing that in this game. But interesting to see on all of these graves, the Hunter's Mark, which we'd already talked about once at the very top there. And we see another one here that's a little more detailed than the others. As we had mentioned before, the Hunter's Mark resembles what looks like a person hanging upside down from their feet. And you can see in this image what very clearly looks like a body hanging upside down from its feet. So, whatever reason, that is the Hunter's Mark, a person hanging upside down from their feet, which comes across as very grotesque. But now I'm just babbling. Let's get back to what we wanted to do here today, which is we're going to go back to... is it Cathedral Ward? I think it's Cathedral Ward. We're going to go back to Oedon Chapel, and we're going to check in on our buddy, the Chapel Dweller. I don't know if they actually gave him a name. I think it's just Chapel Dweller. And see how he's hanging in there since we last saw him. Ah, looks like we have some more guests. So this right here would be the, for lack of a better term, prostitute that we had met down in the lower parts of the Cathedral Ward. And unfortunately, the gentleman who was being such a jerk to us before apparently decided not to listen to us, and instead of going to Yosefka's clinic, he actually followed the prostitute here to Oedon Chapel. So let's have a quick chat with all of these people and see what they have to say now. First, we'll talk to the Dweller. Come on.
Ah, the hunter. Thank you. So that old man you told him about this place, right?
Not really.
Well, he don't offer me much in the way of conversation, but still, I'd rather see him alive anyhow. And I
That makes
sort
one of
hope
us.
that my asking you turn out to, you know, help him out in the end. I've never been any use to anyone, you see. Just happy about it, is all.
So this is a very strange looking individual, but he does seem to have a good heart. So it just goes to show you that, you know, looks aren't everything. And this guy doesn't seem to be doing anything nefarious. He just wants people's well-being. That's all he cares about.
If you find any saint survivors, well, send them along to Oedon Chapel, will ya?
Doing the best I can, bud. All right, let's go talk to the prostitute. See what she has to say.
Oh, hello, dear. You weren't lying. This is a safe place. Thank you. I am in your debt.
Oh, we got a new posture pose that we can do. Stance? Not sure what to call it.
Thanks, but I can't imagine what to offer. All I can give is my blood. But would you even take a whore's blood?
Well, if you want to give it to me, I'll take it. I'm not going to force you.
Oh, good. Come close, dear. Don't worry, I've done this before.
I don't think she was just talking about giving blood.
Oh, hello. Sorry, dear. You're much too eager. I've only so much blood, okay?
Well, I wasn't really looking for blood. I just want to make sure you're doing all right. Let's check in with the old crone, see how she's doing. She's obviously not doing much better than the last time we talked to her.
Good old days. What a laugh, eh? How did we ever get into this mess?
You know, she was very brusque and nasty to us before, and you see someone like that, and you can't help but feel some pity. I don't know. I'm not a vengeful or spiteful individual, so I don't enjoy seeing anyone like this. It's kind of disappointing. Not sure there's a whole lot we could do to help get her back in happy spirits. And honestly, the town's not showing us much to give us a positive outlook at this point.
Ah, you, the swindling offcomer. Did you really think that'd work? There's no fooling me. Now, off with you. You heard me. Go away. I can't stand the stench of your lying breath. I'll spare you one nugget of advice.
Oh, yeah?
Beware the blind man. There the beggar sits at the bottom of the bloody food chain, and then he's here acting like he owns the place. He's not to be trusted. What's he want with all those people anyway? That little weasel has a murky past, I'm telling you.
Now, I'm fairly certain he's talking about the chapel dweller back there. And this guy hasn't given us any reason to believe anything he says. He's just kind of a babbling, bloviating jerk.
Give it a rest, please. I've no time for your petty lies. And what? Just go away now. I can't stand the stench of your lying breath.
Okay, whatever. I really wish you had gone to Yosefka's clinic, you jerk. But whatever. So the door that we wanted to go into in the last episode is now actually open. I think this was a function of us actually finishing off Old Yharnam. It may be opened another way, I'm not 100% certain, but for whatever reason, it's open now, so we can actually ascend to Oedon Chapel, which is what Gehrman had advised us to do. And that's actually pretty important to note that Gehrman is the one that had advised us to come up here. Whoa, okay. I wouldn't normally condone the attacking of the crippled, but good lord, the man had a chain gun. And bullets, which is very important because we're running low as usual. Communion. Interesting. Let's take a look at that. That is one of the Kareth runes that we had been finding. A secret symbol left by Kareth, runesmith of Bergenworth. Several runes relate to blood, including communion, which raises the maximum number of blood vials one may carry. This rune represents the healing church and its ministers. Blood ministration is, of course, the pursuit of communion. So, this is a symbol that the church had created that allows us to carry more blood vials. We still don't really know what Kareth runes are, but we will learn a little bit later what exactly it is. Ouch! Okay, so let's go ahead and tap up. Hey, look at this. It's one of these little oogie boogies. He's trying to run! No, you jerk! I'm not gonna let you get away! Yay! Twin Bloodstone Shards. Very important. We always want more of those. Now we have enough to upgrade our weapon again. So there is some stuff at the top of this tower that we'll come back to, but the critical path that we need to follow is actually this one right here. This is not the greatest of places to go rolling into barrels, which is my usual tactic for getting rid of them, but you never know when there's something hidden in one of these. So the path that we want to take down, we may have already messed up. Not a big deal. We'll try to get down to where we want to go. We might still be able to do it. But there's also some other items that we would want to get. We'll do the critical path, and then we can try to come back here and get those other items later. So the critical path. Hopefully we can make this up. Oh, I didn't make it. Oh, I did. Oh, now that is pure luck. That's not something you can plan. But this is where we wanted to come. We're going to walk because this is a very important and interesting discovery. Abandoned old workshop. And in case you didn't notice the little burst of energy going into our body, this was worth 2 points of insight finding this place. Would you look at that? That looks just like the building that we keep finding in the Hunter's Dream. It's almost identical to what we had found in the Hunter's Dream. We hadn't really done a lot of poking around down in this area of the Hunter's Dream, but this is very much identical as well. Save for one small area that we hadn't actually looked at yet, but Instead of the messenger bath, we just find a chest. Let's go ahead and open it up. Doll hat, doll clothes. Find a bunch of the doll gear. Let's take a quick look at that. And of course, because we're idiots, we're going to go ahead and put it on. Doll hat. A discarded doll's hat, likely a spare for dress-up. A deep love for the doll can be surmised by the fine craftsmanship of this article and the care with which it was kept. It borderlines on mania and exudes a slight warmth. So whoever was putting this set of clothes for a doll together was apparently obsessed with it. Obsessed with the doll and adorning it. So let's go ahead and put the clothing on. Now, this looks extra silly if you're playing as a male character, but thankfully we chose this playthrough to dress as, or to play as a female character. So it's not the silliest thing in the world to put her in female clothing. So there you go. And let's go ahead and take a look up here at the actual Hunter's Workshop. It's missing some of the critical stuff that we had found before. This was where we were storing excess items. This is the bench where we were upgrading our equipment, except there's no weapons above the bench. And this is an altar that we hadn't actually done anything on yet, but that's where in the future we would actually be going to do our work with the Kareth runes. And there's the doll sitting in the corner. I also found a messenger bath right up there, and a grave that we had seen someone posed in front of before. Specifically, the doll had come up here at one point and was seemingly speaking to, worshipping, whatever we had found at this particular grave. Old hunter bone. I believe that's a usable, isn't it? Yep, there it is. All right. Old hunter bone. The bone of an old hunter whose name is lost. It is said that he was an apprentice to old Gehrman and a practitioner of the art of quickening, a technique particular to the first hunters. It is most appropriate that hunters, carriers of the torch who are sustained by the dream, would tease an old art from his remains. So, this is the remains of someone who was an apprentice to Gehrman, meaning that this particular workshop was once inhabited by Gehrman. And of course, at some point they ended up abandoning it, and now it's basically left in the bottom of a very long dropping pit that you would never be able to access safely without, equipment, and probably no one has been down here in a very long time. The area that we had been finding Gehrman down at the bottom of the hill, no longer there. And there were a couple of other things to look at in this building here. An abandoned doll. So the doll is not animated, it's not talking, it's just a doll. In this, the waking world, basically. There's an item inside of this cabinet here. Let's take a look. Small hair ornament. Let's take a quick peek at that. Let's see, where was it? I bet it's a key item. Yep, there we go. A small, very ordinary hair ornament. Although it has been lost for quite some time, one can still see signs of the care with which this tasteful ornament was once kept. Its color would stand out most brilliantly against a head of grayish hair. So, if you look at the hair on the doll there, that would be reasonably considered grayish hair. So we're intended to give that to the doll. Obviously, giving it to this doll would do nothing because it's just a doll. But maybe if we do something in the Hunter's Dream, we would be able to get something in return for it. And we see a statue here. I don't know if that statue was intact in the hunter's dream, but it is here. And an interesting thing to note about the statue, in case you hadn't seen it when I first swung around, if you look at the top of the statue's head, there appears to be stitches from some kind of work that was done on the figure that's portrayed in this statue. We don't know who that is. It may just be a random woman, but that is an important little detail to note, that at some point some kind of work was done on their skull and or their brain. And let's look at the final item that we're actually here to get. 1/3 of umbilical cord. Gross. One-third of umbilical cord. A great relic also known as the cord of the eye. Every infant great one has this precursor to the umbilical cord. Every great one loses its child and then yearns for a surrogate. The third umbilical cord precipitated the encounter with the pale moon, which beckoned the hunters and conceived the hunter's dream. Used to gain insight and, so they say, eyes on the inside, although no one remembers what that truly entails. So this is a very important item in the storyline of the game, and there's a lot of information that's being thrown at you that we really don't have a great explanation for at this point in the game, but we'll try to infer some of the information that we have at this point, not necessarily information that's been proved by anything we've seen so far. So it says that every infant great one has this precursor to the umbilical cord. So this is not even an actual umbilical cord. This is apparently a precursor to it. And then it also indicates that every great one loses its child and yearns for a surrogate. So even if this was the umbilical cord of an actual great one, if a newborn great one was conceived and born of this umbilical cord, it didn't survive. And as the name implies, this isn't a whole umbilical cord, this is just 1/3 of it. The third umbilical cord precipitated the encounter with the pale moon, which beckoned the hunters and conceived the hunter's dream. Hard to say what that is right now. All they're indicating is that the moon is somehow tied into this, and that the hunters were beckoned, and that the hunter's dream that we've encountered multiple times was conceived of this particular item. And also it says if we use it, we'll gain insight, and so they say, eyes on the inside. So let's break down something that we've been picking up quite a bit during this game and kind of analyze the word itself. Insight. In other words, sight on the inside of you. Use of this item will give us insight, or so they say, eyes on the inside, although no one truly remembers what that entails. If you look at the umbilical cord itself, it has what looks an awful lot like eyeballs all over it. So consuming this would technically put eyes on the inside of your body, as grotesque as that sounds. But this also establishes something that's becoming more and more part of the storyline here, which is an obsession with eyes. As we had talked about previously, it seems like everyone inside the village, or inside of Yharnam proper, all the villagers wandering around, some of the hunters, even the statues themselves are all covering their eyes in some way. So that's something that's going to become a little more in focus in one of the areas that we're going to be seeing coming up here. But that is a critical item to this storyline that we needed to pick up. Let's go ahead and return to the Hunter's Dream. And then we're going to go back to Oedon Chapel one more time. And And since we picked up a pretty hair ornament, why don't we give it to a person that may benefit from said item?
Is it you desire? What? What is this? I can't remember. Not a thing, only I feel a yearning, something I never felt before. What's happening to me? Tell me, Hunter, could this be joy?
We received a tear stone.
Welcome. What is it?
See if she says anything new.
Hunters have told me about
Nope,
the
nothing new.
god, but I am a dog. Would you ever think? Of course, I do love you. Isn't that how you've made me?
So no surprise there. She didn't have anything
Farewell.
quite new to say
May
other
you
than
find-
the reaction she had to that hair ornament. Excuse me. Although there is some important details to be gleaned from that interaction as well. She was experiencing feelings that she couldn't explain from an item that we didn't even find in the dream and gave to her. We found in the real world. One could infer that the item that we picked up didn't necessarily belong to her, but possibly to someone that this doll was actually fashioned after. This is a doll that was created by someone who was bordering on mania when they created it. So it could be assumed that this is a doll that was fashioned after somebody that the creator was actually in love with or adored in a way that maybe is not necessarily healthy if the adoration was not returned in kind by that other person. So it's possible that this doll is meant to be a facsimile of an actual person, possibly something that we'll find out later in the game, but just an interesting note. Oh, let's take a look at that tear stone. Silver shining tear stone, used to change into a droplet blood gem that fortifies any weapon. A doll sheds neither blood nor tears, and thus its nature remains unknown. Whoever thinks this is precious must be troubled by severe naivete. I think it's kind of a shot at the players who came looking at this item to see if there was any significance, but why would a doll be crying at all? Tears, blood, or in this case, an actual stone. But let's go ahead and use the item. Tear blood gem. So we can see if that's worth putting on any of our equipment. Also, while we're here, we'll go ahead and do a quick upgrade since we have the materials yet again. Yep, let's go ahead and upgrade that one more time. Again, you don't have to stick to the starting item, but it turns out most of the equipment that you find in the game is equivalently skillful, useful. This just happens to be one of my favorite weapons in the game because it's versatile, it's quick, and it does decent damage. So no reason to really shake things up. Now, it looks like when we get to the next level, we'll be able to add a third gem, although we may not actually have the kind of gem that we would be able to put into the weapon at this time. So not a huge loss if we don't get to it anytime soon. And we picked up a couple of gems. We picked up a striking gem. Charge attacks up, nothing special there. And then we picked up this tear blood gemstone. Hit points continue to recover +2. So the one that we currently have equipped does physical attack up at hit points continue to recover +1. We put this on. We'll lose a point of attack, but we'll also gain a little more healing ability. I think that's a worthwhile trade, so I'll go ahead and put it on. We're doing decent enough damage that there's not a huge loss by not having that equipped. And let's go ahead and take a quick check to see if we can buy any interesting new equipment from the Saw Hunter, or the Powder Keg badge that we picked up earlier. First, we'll check the Insight pool. Nothing there. And then we'll check the messenger bath down here. So it looks like we have a couple of new consumable items. Nothing super important there. But more importantly, we have access to a new weapon, a stake driver. I'll just look at it. I don't know if we have the money to buy it right now. We don't. A trick weapon fashioned by the workshop heretics, the powder kegs, favored by the retired hunter Jura. So again, we didn't actually talk to him about this, but if we had, he would reveal that he had basically given up on hunting and apparently could no longer dream. He couldn't enter the hunter's dream if he died and then wake back up. So when we fought him, we probably killed him for good. He's not ever going to be able to wake back up. The stake driver, with its queerly complex design, violently drives thick stakes into the flesh of foes. The stake driver allows for high damage critical attacks, but it is difficult to use and leaves its wielder wide open. But none of this should bother a mere powder keg, because they were very bombastic individuals. So, an interesting item. Not critical that we pick it up. It's rather dangerous to try to use it, in fact. And then some other items that we're not too concerned about. The critical information we got was from the stake driver there. But let's see if we can level up one more time, and if not, we'll just go with what we have right now.
Home. What is it you did? Very well. Let me stand.
Nope, we're just a hair short. Let's see if we have some cold blood that we can use. Need like 400, 300 or 400. Let's use one of these. That should be enough. Perfect.
Welcome. What is it? Very well. Let me stand.
So we're going to do something a little unusual, and that's just so that we can have a little bit of fun late game with some items that you would want to take a look at. We're going to add points for a little while into Arcane. Which, let's see if they talk about it. Attribute governing power of arcane attack determines whether or not you can use certain equipment. So they don't really tell you what exactly that's good for, but we will add some points to it anyway.
Farewell, good hunter. May you...
Again, the primary benefit of leveling up in this game, besides direct stat boosts for your health and your stamina, and also meeting minimum requirements for certain equipment, is every time you level up, you gain a little bit of defense. And that little bit of defense over time can make a little bit of a difference in the amount of damage you absorb from enemies. But ultimately, you know, putting on a set of clothing other than the starter garb, most of those stats are interchangeably equivalent, not a huge deal. Ultimately, your defense is pretty much about as good as it's going to get starting out. The bumps that you get from leveling up are minor, but they do add up over time. So now they're starting to show us items that are used in the Holy Chalice rituals as part of the screen here, just to indicate to you some of the stuff that you're going to find if you actually go into the labyrinth. Not critical. You do not have to do any of that. So let's go back up to the tower. There were some things that we did not do up here. I want to follow up and make sure we get a good look at everything that we can in there. Molotovs are nice to have. Not critical. Pebbles have their use as well. And we'll put the Bold Hunter's mark on again so that we have access to it if we need to get out of somewhere quickly. Okay. Again, the game does a lot of things great with the graphics, but you can see my arm kind of clipping through the back of the shawl that the character is wearing, which is unfortunate. That's one of those things that as graphics technology improves, they'll probably fix at some point. Ow! There they are again, calling me a beast. Look in a mirror, guy. Ow! Right in the forehead. Ouch. A brutal hit. So there's some people inside there that are lying in wait for me. Ouch. Oh. The nice thing about the regain or rally system in this game is that even if the enemy is dead and you're still swinging away, you'll still get health back for a little while. You get about, I don't know, 2 seconds after they've died before you can't do it anymore. Another gemstone. Every little bit makes a difference. And really, just because someone died doesn't mean that their blood doesn't still have the healing properties. These guys. Ouch! The enemy's starting to hit harder. The damage is starting to accumulate. It's funny that there's a mix of really nice ornate coffins mixed in with these cheap wooden ones that you can easily break just by rolling into them. That may be my imagination, but I think I just got some health back. Or some blood echoes, rather. I don't know. Come on. Come on. You wanted to fight me, but I'm not going to fight you out there. Fight here. There you go. Oh, not enough? Ah, you've had enough. Bitch. There were the guys that were shooting at me. Get a little revenge. See you later! Fortunately, I think both of those bodies fell where I wouldn't be able to pick up the items they had on them. Yeah, maybe not that guy. Alright, so nothing around here, but let's go up top. There's one more ladder here. And we want to go around the outside. By the way, if you were the person who is responsible for climbing this tower to do whatever it is, worshipping, lighting candles and incense, this would be the scariest part of my job every day. You have to walk next to this ledge here to climb a ladder and look at that drop. No thanks. I don't consider myself scared of heights, but that would still give me some concern. Apparently they had no interest in doing guardrails around this place. The sky and the cosmos are one, the choir. So apparently some group called the choir are noting that the sky and the cosmos are one. So we'll probably go into this in another episode further down the line. Maybe the next episode, who knows. But there are some interesting ideas coming into play that if you're in any way familiar with the writings of... why am I blanking on his name right now? Lovecraft. Some of the themes that he was very fond of using throughout his writings are going to start popping up more and more as we start playing through this game, and many of them you're already seeing. So, like I said, we'll talk about it in a future episode, kind of go over some of the stuff that he, I won't say necessarily invented, he might have invented, but he certainly popularized. Oh. Nice detail that we didn't get to see there because I kind of finished him off quickly. You can see it on this one, though. Look at his face. He's wearing like a plague doctor mask. Like one of those beaked ones. Thank you for the bullets. And thank you for the bullets. Bullets good. Let's check this chest. And Radiant Sword Hunter badge. Let's take a look at that real quick. Radiant Sword Hunter badge. One of the badges crafted by the Healing Church. The Radiant Sword indicates the heirs to the will of Ludwig. These hunters, also known as Holy Blades, are what remains of an ancient line of heroes that date back to a very early age of honor and chivalry. So this is an item belonging to someone by the name of Ludwig. I believe they may or may not have mentioned it at this point, but Ludwig was kind of the predecessor to the hunters that we've seen in and around Yharnam. The hunters weren't necessarily, well, maybe they were, maybe making a bad claim there, weren't necessarily created by the Healing Church, but they may have been, quote-unquote, revived by the Healing Church. So I gotta adjust real quick. Alright. We see a door here that we can't open. And a whole bunch of what I'm going to assume are urns. Not 100% certain on that. Nor am I certain how exactly one would light an urn like that. I don't know, maybe it's because the body inside is fat? I don't know. Not sure. Not sure how that works. But if you're a jerk, you could destroy them. And you know me, I'm a jerk. Look at all those skulls. Those are definitely moving around from what I could tell. Let's not do that. Also, if you didn't see in the rafters up above, some very familiar looking items. Hunter equipment. So this was also an extension of the Hunter's workshop that we had found down below. Possibly an expansion beyond what the Hunter's workshop represented. We know that that shop was abandoned. And I don't know if we'll actually get more clarity or if we have maybe accidentally passed by the explanation of why exactly you're finding stuff like that. Maybe something we just circle back to at a later time. Let's get some bullets. Bullets are always good. Try not to step off the ledge, dummy. Alright, so there is a way down here safely, which I didn't take before. And we did successfully this time. Very good. See where the good items are. We got one right there. Whee! I don't think there's anything that way. I think where we want to go next is that right there. See if we can do this. I missed it! Ah, well. Clipping in this game is no joke. You gotta get your jumps lined up perfectly because the game will not forgive a bad fall. There's another madman's knowledge. Again, no way to prove this, but given the proximity to the abandoned hunter's workshop, that may have been why they were in possession of madman's knowledge. So this is going to be dicey. We may or may not make this drop. I hope I do, because I don't want to have to come back here again. Oh, excellent. We made it. And then we have one more drop to get to the bottom here. And if you hadn't been hearing, there's something down here growling. Right there. We're going to have to fight him. Owie! He awakens! Uh-oh. Fire! Ah! Ouch! Ouch! No! Get some blood. Not too bad, but he has something on him. He has a rune. Let's take a look at that rune. Beast. A secret symbol left by Kareth, runesmith of Bergenworth. A transcription, I can speak, of the roar of a labyrinth beast. The bearer of the beast rune has accentuated temporary transformation effects. Beast is one of the early Kareth runes, as well as one of the first to be deemed forbidden. The discovery of blood entailed the discovery of undesirable beasts. So again, they are linking, in case it was not super obvious from the information we had gathered at this point, that the blood that they found in the labyrinth, the old blood, was tied to the undesirable beasts. There is a connection between them. Now, they don't say explicitly that consuming the blood is what's turning people into beasts, but let's be honest here. Why would random people out in the streets who had nothing to do with the church, nothing to do with Bergenworth, but are using blood, suddenly be turning into beasts? How would we know that the blood that they're cutting with a holy medium is not in fact tainted? We have to go with what we can find just from the information in the game, and that it's certainly fair to connect the notion that they're cutting the blood that they're giving everyone with this holy medium, which apparently is the old blood, and that the people who are using this blood, which in the case of this town is basically everyone, is now slowly turning into a beast. Alright, got another town here. A lamp. Lamps usually indicate someone who's going to answer the door. Alright, anyone about to attack, do we? Don't see anyone.
A night of curses. A night to remember. What you say, friend?
So the people who are barred up in some of these houses are clearly starting to lose their minds. Perhaps because they've been dealing with these nightly hunts so long that they're losing touch with what normal lives are. We have some more hunters, but they don't seem to be quite as ordinarily dressed as everyone else. These guys are wearing what looks like, I don't know, religious garb again. But they're also very much afflicted by the scourge. You can see their heads are basically turning into, I don't know, proto-werewolf type transformations. They're also wearing, smocks, kind of like the stuff that you wear in religious rituals, kind of like the long, I don't know what else to call it, like the outfits that they wear in Catholic Church. I don't know what to call that, like prayer. You're also noticing that this section of the town, much like old Yharnam, is lots of stuff kind of piled up on the streets, and we were just attacked by somebody. So we should start paying attention. Hey, what's up, Doug? Ouch! Oh, he hits hard! I don't let that happen. Uh-oh. Oh, he's not happy. Oh, get in there. Oh, I missed a chance. Let's see if we can't get him this time. Come on. Uh-oh. Ooh, they hit so hard. Oh, I think he just killed me. Tough encounters. Unfortunately, that means we're going to have to come back down here again. There's some important stuff in that area that we want to find. Hey, wait a minute. We're not waking up at the lantern like we normally do. Yahar'gul, the Unseen Village. So, while that wasn't necessarily how I intended for it to happen, that is actually something that we did want to take place before the end of this particular episode. That person with the sack that was sneaking up on us and attacked us and was doing just a shit ton of damage, pardon my language, was actually part of a scripted event where if you get attacked and killed by one of those guys at a certain point in the game, they'll throw you in their satchel. I was about to say their snatch, and this, oh god, I hope they don't throw you in there. They throw you in their satchel and take you to this crude prison-like environment. Fortunately, the idiot forgot to lock the door. And you walk out, and the first thing you see is rotting body with what looks like some kind of cage on his head. If that's punishment, I'm not sure what it was meant to be. And if you hadn't noticed in the background, there's a very strange sound playing in the background, like some Gregorian chanting of some kind. Madmen toil surreptitiously in rituals to beckon the moon, uncover their secrets. So, it seems like whoever kidnapped us and dragged us to this area is engaged in a ritual to beckon the moon. So we're ostensibly being tasked with finding out what exactly it is that they're doing. Do I need to go this way first or this way? I think this is a dead end, but let me double check. Nope. This is how I get out of here. Okay, so I don't want to go that way just yet. I want to go down. Down. By the way, as usual, when I died, I lost my souls. Uh-oh.
In the name of the healing church, cleanse us of this horrible dream.
Oh, no. Someone down here is very upset. Possibly another individual that was kidnapped? Look at that, hiding in the corner. And dressed in what looks like the healing church garb.
Oh, please leave me be. Don't take me, please. Oh, please, dear gods.
So whoever is conducting these rituals, they're clearly not a member of the healing church, because if they were, they would not have kidnapped one of their own to do it. It's someone else engaged in it. But let's see if maybe putting on some of the healing church garb will make her a little more willing to speak to us.
in church. You've come to save me. Oh, thank you, dear saint.
I didn't promise that.
Words to express my relief. You can take this at least.
Advanced knowledge.
It's sure to please
Why
my
is she in possession of that?
church like you. Oh, thank you so much, dear gods. Thank you so much. I was seized on the street by a hulking brute in the Cathedral Ward and locked up here. There were many others, but they've been taken away. And I've heard moans echoing in the distance ever since.
So, I don't know if you can fairly say that this is the case, but I think we would be safe to infer that the moaning she's talking about in the distance is the voices that we're hearing. That chanting. I mean, we've been playing this game for something like 7 or 8 hours at this point, and unless we get into a boss fight, we never hear musical audio playing. It's almost always tied to important events or boss fights. This is the first time we've heard anything like that outside of those two things.
So, the hunt is on tonight. Then the streets are perilous, and every door will be shut tight. Perhaps it isn't my place to ask, but do you know somewhere that might take me in?
I sure do. So, we haven't sent anyone to Yusefka's clinic because I, again, don't trust what her motives are. But we won't break the cycle there and send her to Yusefka. We're going to send her to Oedon Chapel.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll set out as soon as I can. I pray for success on your hunt, kind hunter.
Now, technically, that is a little bit of a lie. I did try to send the guy who is very untrusting to the Yusefka's clinic, but I knew he was going to go to the opposite place. He doesn't trust anything we say, so arguing with him would have been a waste of time. I think we'll leave the black church garb on for the time being. No real reason to change it, since I think we're going to find some clothing in this area as well. And we'll just end up putting that on as soon as we do. And again, even though there are some minor changes in the types of defense you get from each set of clothing, it's such a minor change that honestly, it's not worth the effort trying to maximize the stats unless you're really struggling. And again, with these From Software style games, there's no reason why you can't just level up if you're struggling. Go to an area you're comfortable with and fight until you get the experience you need. It's that easy. Interesting. So this character that just ran by represents someone very important in the lore of the story, whether or not it seems obvious, and this is why. You see what she's doing? So what that woman did, whether it was clear or not, was she snuck up on me and took what looked like a melon baller and jammed it into my eye socket and tried to rip out my eye, which is what she's about to do as well. So, all of those people who are wandering around in the town, and statues possibly that had bandages on them, they may all have been victims of these strange women who were running around the town with a melon baller and scooping out people's eyeballs. Now the question is going to become quickly, why is anyone running around town and trying to scoop people's eyeballs out? Believe it or not, there is an answer that we will get to soon enough. Oh, I'm very happy to get more bullets. bullets are good. Now, interesting to note here, this is from our encounters with the enemies in this area, and this does not look like blood. That is a strange substance, but it is definitely not red like normal blood. Hey boy, sorry to interrupt your sleep. Have you seen Paleblood? I'll take that as a no. Sorry. Paleblood? No? Alright. How about you? You seen Paleblood? Sorry, I know you were sleeping. Paleblood. More victims of the beast scourge. At this point, there's just not a lot of people who you're going to find that actually are not afflicted by the beast scourge. These are scary guys! Oh, come on! I didn't know I was gonna get it! Oh, shoot. Oh, come on, game. And they hit hard. These are difficult guys to kill. Now, since we hadn't lit a lamp down here yet, what it's going to do is it's going to dump me right back into the jail cell down below. So we'll have to do a little backtracking and get back up there. Pretty short walk. Turns out I didn't make a ton of progress here. What up, Skitters? Want to come fight? No? Alright. Now, as I had mentioned in a previous episode, that the pebbles, if you look closely enough, kind of resemble eyeballs. Kind of brings things into perspective, doesn't it? You have these old women who are running around and trying to scoop people's eyeballs out, and they also happen to be carrying an item that resembles eyeballs. Those women seem to be obsessed with eyes. Which we'll find out why at a later time again. Thank you for giving me my blood echoes back, jerk. Hopefully you got some blood vials too. Good. We're gonna beat this guy, I swear. You will not best me, sir. No, I have no idea what he's doing there. What he is doing is pissing me off. Arrgh! Got him. Let's see if we can get some extra licks in. Finally beat him. Thank you for the Bloodstone shards. You're not snatching me today, guy. Shit. Let's see if we can't get a little drop on him here. Hopefully we won't get accosted by someone trying to get to him. Alright, much better. And he dropped twin Bloodstone shards. Excellent. Okay, so there is a little more area that we can explore. This is actually the critical path to getting out of here. We're not going to do this just yet. Hopefully we can make it back to this area without having to revive, and we don't have to worry about the Snatchers or any of these other enemies at all, but those are some good enemies and some good lore building dealing with that pair of old ladies with the melon ballers. Maybe I should more appropriately refer to them as eyeballers, but whatever. Maybe that's a little bit too morbid. Uh-oh. I hear another guy clomping around. Ouch! And guess what? He's right here! Shoot. No! Uh-oh. There's another one. See if we can control the encounters. Whoa! Uh-oh. Oh, he got me again! These guys are the worst. Now, the good news is we don't have a ton of backtracking to get back up there again. I swear I'm going to beat these guys. Just make a poor episode if I get stuck here just trying to get past the snatchers and was failing. And then that is what they're called. I believe they're called snatchers. It's one of the Oogie Boogies. Well, respawning wasn't a total loss. I got some items out of it. Hey, what's up, dude? Let's come up here where it's a little bit safer. Since you got a buddy chasing after us. Aha, a lamp. So now we have a respawn point that's gonna give us a little bit of an advantage getting to this guy. If he ever attacks. Oh, now you become unconcerned with the fight? Dude, I'll shoot you right in the back. Yeah, come on. I don't want your friend, I just want you. I believe if you allow him to do that, it'll actually paralyze you, and then he'll get a free shot on you, so you don't want to let him do that if you can. If you can avoid it, rather. Come on. Come on up here. Yeah, screw that guy down there. It's just you and me. Let's have a chat, buddy. Ouch! Damn it! I need you to hit me so I can stun you! Alright, fine. We're just gonna hit you hard and play the dodge game. These guys are brutal. Some of the worst enemies in the game. They just hit way too hard. Nightmarish rituals crave a newborn. Find one and silence its harrowing cry. So this has significance to the story near the very end of the game. At this point in time, all it's giving you is some exposition that, out of context, doesn't really mean a whole lot to you. All we know for certain is the Healing Church and possibly Bergenworth were engaged in rituals, and they're saying nightmarish rituals crave a newborn. Find one and silence its harrowing cry. So are they saying to get the ritual, we need to find and slay a newborn? Or are they saying to stop the ritual, find and kill a newborn? Hard to say. But what we do know is they're saying that newborns are going to be involved in some rituals that we're potentially going to be involved in. I should have opened that door when I was downstairs earlier. Let's see if we can't take care of that real quick. I don't need the Snatcher to attack me, thank you. You can stay right there. I might... No, actually I couldn't open that door. Never mind. I think that's open from somewhere else we can't get to yet. Alright, let's deal with this idiot before he gets the drop on us. Get some quick shots in. Ouch! No, you don't, you jerk. Oh boy. I hate these guys. He had bolt paper. And a moon rune. Moon rune. It's funny to say. Moon rune. Acquire more blood echoes. A secret symbol left by Kareth, runesmith of Bergenworth. A transcription of moon as spoken by the Great Ones inhabiting the Nightmare. Gain more blood echoes. The Great Ones that inhabit the Nightmare are sympathetic in spirit and often answer when called upon. So here we're getting into Great Ones again. We don't know what the Great Ones are, but the game is leaning more and more into the notion that the Great Ones exist, and they exist within the Nightmare. So we got some heady concepts that we're going to have to go over in a future episode, but for now we'll just leave that hanging. Now look at that, another eyeball scooper. And she seems intent on scooping. So, we're about to experience something rather profound, and I probably should have walked out right there, but we'll get to experience it just now. So, come on, queue up. Listen to the chanting in the background, and now listen to it as I walk outside. In case it wasn't noticeable before, and hopefully it's loud enough now, the chanting that we were hearing before was very quiet, and when we walked outside it became much louder. What that means is, whereas the music before, whenever we were fighting bosses or going into areas of major importance, may have just been for flavor, to enhance the mood of certain occasions, just a gameplay mechanic. The chanting that we're hearing right now is diegetic. It's actually occurring in the world that we inhabit right now. Ah, I missed him. Right up the butthole! Sorry, piggy! And you can hear the chanting's louder than it was before if I was saying something that wasn't clear. Behold, a Paleblood sky. Now, we've been here in search of something called Paleblood. And there's a note on the ground that's now telling us if we look up, there is a Paleblood sky. What that is trying to get us to understand is, while we came here with the understanding that Paleblood may have been something that we could tangibly acquire and put into our body, Paleblood may be something entirely different than what we understand. And we look up at the sky and see what they refer to as a Paleblood sky. What that may in fact mean is, we're not actually going to find Paleblood as we originally believed it to be, which is blood that would help treat our ailment. Madman's knowledge. Madman's knowledge. Madman's knowledge. Now, all of these people who had Madman's knowledge facing a door. A door that's closed. What is this door? Well, if I was able to show you a layout map of the entire game, what you would find is on the other side of this door is in fact Old Yharnam. So this is where the barricade that was preventing people from escaping Old Yharnam during the fires was barred, and where it led to the Unseen Village. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's where that is, but it's possible I'm wrong. I don't think that's the case. I believe that is the other side of the door at the bottom of Old Yharnam. Frenzied cold blood. So we're finding a lot of frenzied cold blood in addition to Madman's knowledge. So apparently all the people that were down here encountered some very critical knowledge that strained their minds in the cases of the people barricading the door there to the breaking point. And we've got a set of clothing called the Yahar'gul set. Yahar'gul, hard to say that right. Black hooded iron helm. Iron helmet worn by hunters of the Unseen Village. The hunters of Yahar'gul answer to the village's founders, the School of Mensis. Hunters in name only, these kidnappers wear their black hoods low to shadow their eyes. This helm is made of metal, a rarity for hunter garb, and has high defense but only against physical attacks. So we're introducing yet another body of people within this town. In this case, it's the School of Mensis. These were hunters that specifically worked for the School of Mensis, and they're hunters in name only because really all they were tasked with doing was going out and kidnapping people and bringing them back to Yahar'gul. So apparently there was another body of people doing clandestine activity that was for their own good but not necessarily anyone else's. In this case, they were kidnapping people, likely for the rituals that have been referenced in some of the notes that we've seen before. Possibly even one of the rituals that's going on right now is the chanting that we're hearing. We may or may not find the answer to that at a later time. I don't think there's anything else down here. But one other critical thing to note, obviously, we got the hunter set from someone who is riding in a carriage that clearly is caged, which probably means that he was tasked with taking the kidnapped individuals back to the village here. And some of them may have broken out of the carriage in the case of this one, or maybe someone attacked it and tried to free those people. But look at these statues. Jesus Christ. They started out seemingly very innocuous, but with veiled meaning, and now they're becoming something entirely different and very horrifying. Just a writhing mass of body parts, skulls, limbs, all in prayer, and just a giant towering thing that's partly wrapped. So the Unseen Village also had some very strange ideas of beauty. And more of those statues with the weird mollusk or squid-like head on top there. More creepy imagery. But strange enough to say, not without significance. We are going to find what all this stuff is about at a future time. Not yet. There's still plenty of game to play through that we'll find what the meaning of this stuff is. But here we go with more weird statues. Look at this. You have weird tentacled heads attached to these strange bodies. Statues all over the grounds here. And they are statues because you can see the base on them. shortcut. So lead back to the lamp there. A dead body. I hope that's a dead body. Be an unfortunate way to find out it's not dead. There's anything else there? Just moving on. So the chanting that's going on now is in Latin, and there is a message about blood that they're singing about. Surprise, they sing about blood. I don't know what the exact lyrics are. I can probably look it up and at least read it out in a future episode, but for the time being, just know they are chanting something, and it is actual words that are in Latin. Nope, can't go that way. So we're saying on the backside, nothing there. There were these big sealed carriages possibly being used to kidnap people. Piggy! Ah, I missed. Ow! Ram it up the butt! Oh! I mean, this is how butchers take care of pigs, right? They don't slit their throat, they jam their fist up their butthole and then rip out their intestines. Look, I'm not a butcher, but I have to assume that is the best way to do it. More bolt paper. We keep finding bolt paper, but we have no explanation for what it is or why it's there. Hey, what's up? What up, dog? Woo! Oh, you sneak. Where are you? Another dog skulking around over there. That is a very big, strange-looking carriage, but it clearly is meant to hold a lot of people. And it's more ornately designed and more rigid or structurally sound than the other ones. But it's interesting that ostensibly the School of Mensis was putting a lot of money into very safely and securely kidnapping and dragging people back to this area. Ow! Damn dog. Alright, so we're almost done poking around this area. There's maybe a tiny bit more exploring to do, but we're almost done. See if we can't get the drop on this guy. His dogs may wake up before we get to him. Oh, he did! Damn. That's not good. Oh! No, I want him. Come on. Ah, damn it. Oh, no! 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 Blood up! Blood up! I need some blood. Oh. Oh, thank you for giving me the break I needed, dogs. Whew. Idiot. Alright, let's see if we can't take care of this guy. Get fucked, dude. Oh, shit! Oh, come on! I had him right on the edge. I got done dirty. So this is the kind of game where I know I'm not going to be able to control my language. It is a very difficult game at times. And these snatchers, they piss me off so much. But we can circumvent the snatchers in here, and we can head back down here and try to grab what we lost. It's another Oogie Boogie! Don't let him get away! I want what you have! And this is a tough one, jeez. I must have had something good. Twin Bloodstone Shards, yep. Alright, cool. My blood echoes are just kind of in the middle of the street there. Uh-oh. Oh, shit! Don't let the pig kill me. Oh, no. 2 pigs. Double piggies. That pig just killed that other pig. I guess that's safe to assume they're cannibals. Come on. Oh, you jerk. A little swing around on the side there. Oh, you sneak. I find it interesting that dogs in this game seem to have a dodge mechanic, as though they themselves are aware that they could get hit and have just kind of a little sidestep to avoid it. But I will say with confidence, I don't think I've ever actually fought a dog, so I don't know if they're actually that smart or not. Alright, so trying to trick these guys didn't work last time. Let's just go in for the attack. Oh, you don't. Me and your dogs are fighting alone. You can be there if you want, but they go first, then you. Alright, guy. Now you want to fight? Let's fight. Damn it. Come on. Still too early. I'm gonna get you one of these times. How? Gotcha. Yeah, sit down, dickhead. Alright, so there is an item up here, and this is the one I think it is. That's the main thing that we wanted to come here for, and then we'll move on to the last part of this mission, or this episode, which will be fighting the boss of this area. And we did get what I wanted, which is the Tonitrus. This is a very cool weapon. A unique trick weapon contrived by Archibald, the infamous eccentric of the Healing Church Workshop. Striking this peculiar iron morning star flail like a match generates the same blue sparks that blanket a dark beast. Unfortunately, for reasons untold, the hunters of Archibald's time did not fully take to the device. So basically what this does, and we'll put it on real quick, just kind of for funsies, is... Did I put it on? I didn't. Here we go. There we go. So you can use it as just kind of like a bludgeoning type cudgel weapon, or if you juice it up, let's see if I did it right. No, I did not do it right. You got to do this. Nope, I'm going to get it. There we go. So you can electrify it, and then it does extra bolt damage. It's a very cool weapon. The one big disadvantage it has is it also has some of the lowest durability of any weapon that you use in the game. See, everything, even the rifle spear, has up in the 180 to 200 or 250 durability range. This weapon, if you don't go back to the Hunter's Dream and repair or upgrade the weapon often enough, will eventually break. So, cool weapon with a special additional attack bonus to it, but it's very fragile. So yeah, if you're going to use it at all, use it sparingly. But more important than that, it's not going to be useful in the next fight, and you'll see why very quickly. Let's get back to the lantern. I think I'm going the right way. Yes, I am. So, I would like to burn my souls before we lose them in a fight. This game is making me gun shy because of all the deaths that we've been suffering. Definitely not blood shy. I want all the blood I can get. Make mine blood, game. See if we can fortify. I sure can. Look at that. So I can upgrade this to level 6 now. And that unlocks the third slot for my gems. Now, that's important because while I don't actually have any crescent-shaped gems at this point, I don't think. Yeah, I don't have any. The tier blood gem that we do have can actually fit in that slot. So we can move that, and we can use one of these other gems in that now open slot. Scroll tab 2.1. I think that's going to be worthwhile to put in there. And then let's move over here and put in this one. Perfect. So we have a very effective, versatile weapon now that will actually help me heal a little bit when I'm outside of combat. And we don't have to repair it, I don't think. Let's check the other one. No. So that's done. And let's go down here and chat up
Welcome home, good
the doll.
hunter. What is it you did? Very well. Let me stand close.
And dump some points into my stats here. So again, we're going to buff this just a little bit. We're not going to do it every single time, but, you know, add a point here or there. This, and I'm going to do one more stamina point. That's good. Perfect. Ideally, when I play through the game, I try to do enough vitality to get my hit points up to 1,000. And stamina, I usually try to go to somewhere in the 120 range, because I think that's enough to do a 7th and possibly an 8th attack before the stamina runs out, but I'm not 100% certain on that.
Farewell, good hunter. May you find your worth in the waking world.
Alright, so let's head back to, I think it's this one. No, this one? There it is, perfect. Let's go back to the Hypogean jail. Hypogean. Not sure how you say that. The jail, basically. That's what G-A-O-L is. It's an old English term for jail that we understand as J-A-I-L in the U.S. Not sure how it changed over time. Not an expert on older English. As much as I'd love to tussle with these snatchers one more time, we're going to try to cut right past all of them, including the ones downstairs, because what we want to do is we want to get to this boss and finish it off so we can call this an episode. As we're right up against where I like to stop, which is the 2-hour mark. Obviously, some of these episodes are running longer than 2 hours, but we're trying to get it as close to the 2-hour mark as I can. What up, Sneak? So, let's see if we can't get her attention. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. Oh, no, you don't. Ow! Yes, you do. She get the eyeball, though. That's the important part. I'll live my whole life being happy with just a simple hit by her eyeball scooper. But I don't want to let her grab me and do that gouging. Alright, so I'm just going to run right past this guy because I don't want to wrestle with him. Owie! Shit! One punch did like 3/4 of my health and damage. These are brutal enemies. Alright, so that's our enemy right there. That mass of what looks like fur. And this is a point of no return. Once you get down here, you're pretty much locked in. Defector and Tall. So typically I don't try to fight the enemy the first time with a summon. But given the difficulty that we've been suffering fighting some of these enemies, I think it would behoove me to try to summon in some help. Defector and Tall is, of course, one of the game's NPC summons that you can call into a fight. And I think I had mentioned in a previous episode I was going to play online, but we've had some issues trying to get that working, so we're just going to use another hunter that we can summon in from the NPC pool. But let's go ahead and get started with the fight against this very strange-looking hairy beast. And I think it would definitely help me to have some fire paper on hand. Holy shit! Ah, damn it! Okay, not getting hit again, or am I? Oh, he's gonna get me again. I dodged it. I don't know how. Antall is not doing nearly as much as I was hoping he would. But I'll take a fall when I can get it. Thank you. Oh, he got me again. And that was a bigger hit than before. Oh, get in there, get in there! Ah, I missed a chance to do a visceral attack on him. But we're done. We're done. It's over. Goodbye. Whew. And thank you, Defector Antall. From that, we got the Spark Hunter badge. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Spark Hunter badge real quick. Badge crafted in secret by Archibald, the infamous eccentric of the Healing Church, for his friends. Archibald was fascinated by the blue sparks that emanate from the hides of the dark beasts and dedicated his life to its artificial reproduction. in a style of inquiry that, incidentally, closely followed the methodology of Bergenworth. So what that's indicating is that Archibald may not have been super duper appreciated or honored by the Healing Church, and he was doing a lot of stuff in secret behind their backs. In particular, he was studying the Dark Beasts, which, if it wasn't clear, we were just fighting a Dark Beast, given the name of the boss was Dark Beast Parl. There is kind of a bit of lore to explain what exactly we just fought, because we fought plenty of beasts at this point in the game, but none of them were capable of just emanating electricity from their hides. That's kind of unique to that particular character, and in fact, you know what? I think I was wrong. I was wrong. This is the gate that leads into Old Yharnam. So that gate that we were talking about before was not, in fact, the one that led to Old Yharnam. This is. But obviously, if anyone managed to get this far and actually were attacked by the Dark Beast, they weren't going to get much further. Don't think that was intentional. You could see that the path in here was kind of like violently ripped out by something, and that was probably this Dark Beast that managed to get down here. So let's go ahead and get back to the Hunter's Dream, and we're going to call this one an episode. Whew. That was some intense fighting. Not just the Dark Beast, although the Dark Beast was hitting me pretty hard with that electricity, but also just getting past all those goddamn snatchers. They are the worst. See if we get anything cool added. I think that's what the bolt paper was from that badge that we just got, the one from Archibald. Now we can buy Bloodstone Shards. We couldn't purchase them before just with Blood Echoes, but now we have the ability to do so here. So if you want to upgrade pretty much any weapon in the game at this point, you have the ability to do so. You merely spend the money. And now we have some other interesting items that have been added. The Tonitrus has been added to the inventory, but also Ludwig's Holy Blade, which we had not looked at yet. Let's take a quick peek at the description for that one. A trick weapon typically used by Healing Church hunters. It is said that the silver sword was employed by Ludwig, the first hunter of the church. When transformed, it combines with its sheath to form a greatsword. The Healing Church workshop began with Ludwig and departed from old Gehrman's techniques to provide hunters with the means to hunt more terrifying beasts, and perhaps things still worse. So, the Healing Church workshop was begun by Ludwig, who was departed from the way that Gehrman had been running things. So we had theorized, and again, I'll be honest, I understand a lot about the way that the game works, but some things I still get a little bit confused or a little bit hazy to me. Basically, what this game is indicating to us is that Gehrman was a hunter, but he was not necessarily affiliated directly with the Healing Church. Or if he was doing things in a way that the Healing Church did not necessarily find as effective as they would have liked. Ludwig came along and started teaching hunters and providing them with equipment to fight far more dangerous beasts than even Gehrman was capable of doing. And in the process, there may have been a split. And that split may explain why we find an abandoned hunter workshop down in the bottom of that chamber, all the way up at the top of Oedon Chapel. And the hunter's dream may have been the answer that Gehrman was searching for. So this newer version of the workshop that we find ourselves in now was likely something that Gehrman had founded when the Healing Church and Ludwig kind of went off on a different path trying to fight enemies. So a little bit more lore from that item there. And I don't know if we're going to find anything else important up here unless Gehrman is woken up. Or if maybe he's got some more to say in his sleep. I don't see him down here, so he may not be here at all. And I think we had talked about this before. We hadn't really looked around down here yet. But you go down this pathway, you find some twisting path. You don't have an entrance to another tunnel here. You have this distant here with a bunch of pillars that just seem to go on and on into the distance. And I say pillars because if these were meant to be trees, you probably wouldn't find what looks like wrapping around the top of the pillars there. And we got a door here that is closed. And an area with more of those weird crucifixes that we had seen before. So, an interesting area that we'll probably circle back to at a later time. Alright, so let's go ahead and, well, let's see if we can do some upgrades real quick. I don't think there are any upgrades that we need to do at this point. Fortify. We don't have Bloodstone chunks, so that is the next upgrade for this particular item, but we don't have any of those yet. We could spend some points on the Tonitrus if we want to mess with that a little bit, but honestly, the tried and true weapon is still going to work for a very long time, and we have no real reason to deviate from that at this point. And we didn't get any blood gems, so nothing there. We can check the insight pool to see if there's something we can buy. We now have the ability to buy bolt paper, which I don't think we did before, or fire paper, actually. No garb, no other items, so we're safe to spend these blood echoes on upgrading our character.
Welcome home. What is it you... Very well, let me stand.
And we'll do 1 point in stamina. I'll do 1 point in Arcane for now. Good to go. See if she has anything new to say.
Hunters have told me about
Nothing.
the goal, but I am a dog. Would you ever... Of course, I do. Isn't that...
Okay, thank you for that.
Farewell, good. May you...
Alright, and as usual, we'll go ahead and wrap things up with the doll staring over my shoulder, which is always very creepy, but whatever. So just to recap what we did in this episode, I gave you a very long and detailed synopsis of what we had experienced up to this point in the game, kind of laying out the details of the situation we found ourselves in. We came here looking for blood, specifically pale blood, to try to heal ourselves. We signed some kind of contract, we got our first transfusion and woke up to a nightmare. We find ourselves in the midst of two very important things going on. Number one, a beast scourge, which is taking on the town, and a hunt in which the people of the town of Yharnam are going out and trying to capture quote-unquote beasts and slay them, when in fact it turns out most of these people are themselves already in the process of transforming into beasts. We, in this particular episode, made our way up to Oedon Chapel, or ascended to Oedon Chapel, which is something that we had been instructed to do by Gurman. We made it inside, and we found an interesting secret area in the middle of it, which is what he was trying to direct us to. We found an old abandoned workshop where we found much of the same stuff as this area that we're in right now. The same building, the doll. I don't know if any of these graves were actually there, but much of the same layout of this area was found there. The workshop inside contained a very vital item. We found a 1/3 umbilical cord, which indicated that there is this group of beings called the Great Ones who are looking to conceive, and unfortunately when they conceive children, none of them manage to survive. And we found that if we consume this item, it would give us eyes on the inside. In other words, it would give us quote-unquote insight, but perhaps more literally, we would grow eyes on the inside somehow if we consumed it. We haven't done that yet. Trust me, that's something we'll circle back to at another time. We went down into another area of the Oedon Chapel, just descended into the very bottom of that shaft, found another area of the town that had been sectioned off, but it clearly had been more directly involved in the healing church, as we saw men wearing very religious clothing walking around and performing the hunt. Before we could get any further, we got attacked and killed by a snatcher who ended up kidnapping us. And he took us to Yahar'gul, the unseen village, which, as we learned through notes and items that we collected there, including this set of clothing that we're wearing right now, Yahar'gul was a city or village founded by the School of Mensis, who had tasked certain people that are quote-unquote hunters to go out and kidnap individuals and drag them back to this village so that they could perform rituals using the people that were being kidnapped. We found a lady there who was clearly another one of these kidnapped victims. We comforted her by wearing the healing church garb and advised her to head to Oedon Chapel, where we'll go and meet with her later just to make sure she's doing all right. And we went into a cave that led to a very large and disturbing-looking beast that had electricity coursing all over its body that it could emanate in a very violent and destructive manner, and we ended up killing it. And found our path leading back into Old Yharnam, where the gate had been sealed off to prevent people from escaping. So it could be assumed, maybe not justifiably so from information we've received, that Old Yharnam is possibly a source of some of these kidnapped victims that were being taken into Yahar'gul. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't have anything to prove it, but the proximity of the two would lend one to the other. But that's where we ended up leaving off for this episode. We're going to go ahead and call it a day. As always, I do appreciate you guys watching these episodes, and I will see you next time.